There's a story told about a fellow who was a Shakespearean actor who lived in New York. And there's not a lot of call for Shakespearean actors, and he was getting desperate for work. Well, one day his agent calls him and he says, "I've got a gig for you." And the guy says, "Great, I'll take it." Doesn't even hear about it. And the agent says, "Slow down. You need to know about it. It's a small part. I don't care. I'll take it." "No, let me tell you everything," he says. "It's a small part. It's one night only. Somebody's gotten sick. They need someone to stand in. It's a single line." He says, "I'll take it. I love Shakespeare. I want to do this." And the agent says, "There's one other piece. You're in New York, but the play's happening in LA, and if you're going to be a part of it, you got to catch a plane right now. Are you sure you really want to do it?" He says, "I don't care. I love doing Shakespeare. Tell them I'll take the part. I'll go get a plane right now." And the agent says, "Fine, fine. Here's your line because you're going to be rushing just to make it in time. Remember your line for when you get on stage. The line is, 'Hark, yon cannon doth roar.'" The guy says, "Okay, hark, yon cannon doth roar. I've got it down." The agent says, "Well, practice it. I'll call them back and let them know you're on your way." The guy says, "Thank you." They hang up the phone. He runs down out of his apartment, hails a taxi, says, "Come on, LaGuardia as fast as you can." And as he's headed off to LaGuardia, the cabbie's driving through the traffic in New York, and this guy is in the back seat practicing his line. "Hark, yon cannon doth roar. Hark, yon cannon doth roar," over and over again. Cabbie thinks he's a little strange, but that's okay. He's one of those acting types, right? He drops him off in front of LaGuardia. He runs up to the nearest counter. He says, I need the next ticket on the next plane." And the person behind the counter starts helping him. And as he's doing this, he keeps saying to himself, "Hark, yon cannon doth roar. Hark, yon cannon doth roar." And the person behind the counter thinks, this guy's a little different, and wonders, to herself, "I wonder what the TSA folks will think when he goes through line." Well, he gets his ticket and he rushes over and he's standing in line. And as he's in line, he keeps practicing that phrase over and over again. "Hark, yon cannon doth roar. Hark, yon cannon doth roar." Gets up to the TSA agent and he's sitting there quietly mumbling his line. "Hark, yon cannon doth roar. Hark, yon cannon doth roar." The guy looks over his stuff, sends him on. He gets over, sits at the gate waiting for the plane. "Hark, yon cannon doth roar. Hark, yon cannon doth roar." Gets on board the plane, gets in his seat, gets his seatbelt fastened, and he sits there quietly thinking his line over very softly. "Hark, yon cannon doth roar. Hark, yon cannon doth roar," over and over again. Finally, the plane takes off and he's doing the line. "Hark, yon cannon doth roar. Hark, yon cannon doth roar." It lands in LA. He jumps out of his seat. He's looking at his watch. He's barely going to have time to make it to the stage. He gets in a cab. He's practicing his line continually. "Hark, yon cannon doth roar. Hark, yon cannon doth roar." Gets to the theater, runs into the backstage entrance. They see him. They're taking his clothes off. They're throwing the costume on him. They're not even going in the dressing room. The whole time they're dressing him, getting his makeup on him. He's going over and over again. "Hark, yon cannon doth roar. Hark, yon cannon doth roar." And the stage manager says, "Hurry, hurry. You just barely have time to make it." And they thrust the guy out on stage, and he gets out on stage. And all of a sudden he hears, kaboom! And the guy says, "What the heck was that?" I got to tell you, one of my all-time favorite jokes. With a pretty good lesson, actually, too. We can do all our planning. We can do all our organizing. We think we can get it all together. But the surprising always happens. The unexpected is a part of life. Things that seem solid and staid and reliable to count on, like the classics of Shakespeare, sometimes the strains of the world in which we live, pull them asunder. We're in one of those such times as we've been talking about. And it's good to remember that while we have a God who has created this world and blessed us with so much, We also have a God who is willing to say to us at times, you got to be prepared for change and the unexpected. There's a little moment in Scripture. It's found in Matthew, the 24th chapter, as it's opening up. Jesus and his followers are leaving the temple. It's the last week of his life, close to the end of the story. And as they're leaving, somebody makes a comment about the beauty and the majesty of the temple, these massive stones, and how this building is just, it's just a staid presence. And Jesus says, in 3 days' time, every stone could be knocked down and put back together again. Alluding, scholars talk about, to how everything is going to change with his death and resurrection. But it's still a pretty good reminder that whenever we think things are always going to be the way they've always been, well, sometimes the cannon roars and we have to accept the unexpected is here. May it ever be so.